I was waiting for the fatigue to occur, but it never happened. What's going on tonight, everybody? We are talking about the Adidas Boston 12, a neutral road running shoe from Adidas. And this is the latest in the Boston series. And I hear a lot of good things about this shoe, that it is a throwback to the Boston 9, kind of the original energy return and then overall classic feel of the Boston, that it went a little sideways on kind of that 10 and 11, but we're back with the Boston 12. Personally, I've not run in the Boston series before, and I'm super excited to talk about it. I did get a chance to run in this shoe a couple of runs and can give you my thoughts here. Jumping right into the upper, this is going to be an engineered mesh, and the big thing about the Boston compared to any of the other shoes is that it's a training shoe, but it's supposed to have a race day feel to it to complement the race day shoes. So overall, you're going to have a little bit more of a built up upper and then some other components to the shoe, which we'll get into in a second. So for the upper, we'll start actually with the toe box here. The toe box has a lot of structure to it, and it's not really rigid, but I can definitely feel it in the run that there was quite a bit of protection going on in the toe box as well as the toe cap up here, and that it maintained its structural rigidity without feeling too, scratchy or plastic or into that during the run. And then jumping into the eyelet chain and the lace closure, I mean, go ahead and look at the number of eyelets available on the eyelet chain here. It's quite a bit. And I did find that when I originally went to lace up the shoe that I did have to kind of tweak the laces a little bit, both sides, both shoes, to really dial in that fit without it feeling sloppy. And then once I finally got it tuned in, I felt that it was good, but it was just kind of that one time and it wasn't a big deal after that. These laces are, they're really kind of thin and not really a whole lot of stretch, so there's really nothing too substantial about these laces. And I would say that if there was fewer eyelets, it would almost feel like these could be pinching into the top of the foot. But again, they have so many bands and loops here for the eyelet chain. And then, yeah, go ahead and take a look. There's not holes, but these little miniature barrels of material here. So good job there, Adidas. Taking a look at the tongue. This is a non-gusseted tongue, meaning it's able to free float kind of inside the shoe on top of the foot. It's almost a padded tongue, but not overly so. But given that it is a longer distance main shoe, it's nice to have a little bit of padding. And I didn't have any issue with it on the top of my foot, except during turns and corners, which we'll get into in a little bit here in kind of that negative side. I felt that it might have been a little bit sloppy. It was fine in the straightaways, but going around corners, it almost felt like there was a little bit of shifting going on, mainly with the tongue and the upper combined. So a little bit of something there. Moving into the heel counter, here we have this fun little heel tab that kind of just flips up for on and then away for off, and then moving into that the heel counter. Actually, we'll start with the heel collar. Sorry. As you can see, there is some padding kind of on the medial side and then the lateral side, and almost there's more on the lateral side, yeah, than the medial side. Interesting. And then taking a look as it kind of approaches the back of the heel, as it kind of pinchers down, it stops kind of right here where my finger is, so you don't have the continuation of this little ridge here in the back, which is interesting because I really didn't feel a whole lot of slippage. Actually, it was really, really comfortable, and I almost wonder if Adidas might be onto something with just this ankle gauntlet that's kind of going around the sides here but skipping the middle, as a lot of shoes have a really substantial bit of padding here that does kind of touch the Achilles there, and it's not really a big deal, but it's just interesting that I don't see that tradition continued here in the Boston 12. And then sliding down into kind of the heel cup where the calcaneal bone does sit, and it feels like there's not really a whole big indentation to really lock that heel bone in, but again, I didn't have any issues with slipping, so that's a really, really good thing for me. Okay, and then pulling the insert out of the shoe, here we have the Adidas insert going on. It's not really thick and not overly thin. You know, it's got a little bit of structure to it, you know, in plastic waste. So Adidas is really big on their earth-friendly, low carbon impact, low carbon footprint type of manufacturing. So it's talked about here. This is actually quite a slick material here on the top of the factory insert. So I almost wondering if there might be a little bit of slipping and sliding that goes on because of this. But I almost wonder if given enough time, this will kind of sink in and really get a little bit more structure underneath the foot, so it's not really sliding around all that much. And kind of putting my hands in here, you can kind of see this nice little protrusion for the arch here, and that is continued on the inside of the upper kind of a medial wall against the arch. So I felt very comfortable with that in the shoe. I'd say this is probably one of the better arch supporting shoes with a really high attention to detail with that. So yeah, great job. And then taking a look inside the shoe, oh man, all kinds of daylight. Like this colorway is shining right into the white bottom of the inside of the shoe here. So very well ventilated, and I would agree there's a lot of ventilation going on. Like I can almost see the camera here through the shoe. It's not like a race day shoe where you're gonna have almost a see-through material, but still, that's a lot of ventilation for a training shoe that's designed for lots of miles. So great job. And then taking a look inside the shoe, I see that there is this band on the lateral and medial side of the shoe. I'm not sure if you can see it here. I'll show it on the B-roll, but it seems that it does connect. Yes, so this wrap, we'll call it a wrap here, on the medial and lateral side of the shoe as it connects to the heel back here, does wrap up and around the tongue of the shoe to definitely encapsulate and hold on to the foot. And there it is. So this little barrel of the eyelet chain does communicate with these lateral medial wraps. And when you do pull it and cinch it tight, that's when it really cinches down on the foot, and it really gives a nice snug hug to the foot because of this communication from the midsole down below all the way to the eyelet chain, wrapping around the top of the foot and really evening this distribution of pressure here for the Boston 12. So wow, I knew when I put this shoe on that once the laces got dialed in, there was something that came alive, and I think that's what we're seeing here as it all comes together here with the Boston 12. So good job, Adidas. Moving into that midsole, the heart of the shoe, this is gonna be kind of a couple of things going on here. First, we're gonna have the Light Strike Pro. This is the cream of the crop super foam from Adidas. You see this in a lot of their racing shoes, and you see it here in the Boston 12. And then giving some rigidity and support to the Light Strike Pro is this Light Strike 2.0. It does go around the heel and then around the middle, and then kind of goes all the way to the tippy top of the toe, and same on the other side here on the lateral aspect of the shoe to really give that Light Strike Pro a nice little area to lay upon. And then your foot makes contact with that Light Strike Pro, and then you can see by the geometry, it's got this forward momentum to it. And I gotta say, the energy return and then the feel of the shoe, it's very snappy, it's very comfortable, it's not overly squishy, but because of this final component in this midsole, it really brings it all together. And that's gonna be these energy rods here within almost the bottom of the Light Strike Pro. It is a single carbon plate that does branch off into the individual rods. So it's energy rods, and Adidas is saying that these have a glass component. Other sources say there's a carbon component, that they're not rigid, but they're not overly springy. The feel of the shoe under step with all these foams and the drop of 7 millimeters, 38 in the heel and then 31 in the front. And the weight of the Boston 12 is gonna be 9.5 ounces for a men's size 9. What it feels like is very structured. It is very unaccommodating, meaning it does not overly bend within the gait cycle. It maintains its structure, but at the same time, it offers such springiness that it allows the user to continue to run without so much fatigue in the legs, and can really maintain a pace without having to do too much, adjusting on his or her own. The shoe takes a lot of that burden off, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like a race day shoe in that it is really accelerating you forward or propelling you forward. It almost feels like it's just not allowing a whole lot of fatigue to happen to the shoe, the lower leg, and the body. The main thing that I could think of when I was running with the shoe, and especially when I was done, was how freaky fresh my legs felt. Even though I was going for a little bit of a faster run, a little bit more of an up-tempo run, I was waiting for the fatigue to occur, but it never happened. It never happened. And then after the run, there was none of that muscle soreness at all, I gotta say. And I've been running for a little bit now, so there could be some conditioning, but it's a huge difference. The Boston 12, it really made a big difference. Moving into the outsole, this is gonna be that continental rubber that Adidas is known for. They've been using it for quite a number of years now. There's a lot. Adidas has been using Continental for a long time, and I've run in Adidas before with this rubber, and it happened then and it happened again now. And there is nothing but solid grip going on with this rubber. I understand what Adidas is doing here. This is a ton of rubber. It's covering pretty much the entire shoe. But this is designed for durability. This is designed to complement you during your entire marathon training block. So Adidas is not wanting this to break down in the middle of your training cycle for you. So they've really given you quite a bit. But at the same time, they've kind of taken away some of the areas of the rubber so you can save a little bit of weight. As well, you can kind of see here in the middle how it shows off those energy rods. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of this divot. Now I get what they're trying to do here and then here on the side, but it could be my mind and just knowing that this hole is here, but I almost feel that when I supinate and I come down on the edge of the foot and then I roll inward to kind of pop off, that there's almost some additional twisting going on here that maybe it doesn't need to be that way. Maybe if there was a little bit more structure here in the midsole with this little groove not missing and not removed, that wouldn't happen. But of course, it could be me. But that's a small little component, and it just happened to be on my mind for a tiny amount during the run. So overall, it's not a deal breaker at all. Okay, and then moving into some of the drawbacks. I mentioned it before, and it could get a little bit better as I kind of dial in some of the lacing, but the overall fit of the shoe is kind of loose for me. I mentioned that there's some really good solid lockdown on the upper, but that's really mainly appreciated whenever I'm going in a straight line. Anytime I took corners in this shoe, it felt like I was just kind of sliding all around, especially in the front of the shoe here in the toe box, to the point that I really had to concentrate on slowing down, making that corner, and making a conscious and deliberate effort when doing so, because it almost felt like, there might have been a little bit of stability stuff going on with the shoe in the corners. Now, this could be just a brand new shoe issue. I've run this shoe a few runs here and it's kind of breaking in for me. So it's possible that as we kind of go along, you're gonna sink into the shoe a little bit more and not have that side-to-side motion as much anymore. Same with that shoe liner, how slick it was. Once that's kind of worn away a little bit, maybe that'll be a little bit more traction. So we'll keep testing and seeing how that goes. But that's not a huge thing, because I don't plan on doing any like superb hair point turns or figure of eights or any of that stuff. So I'm not super worried about it. This shoe really kind of took me by surprise. I was, what am I going to use this for? I'm going to use this for easy day. I'm going to use this for tempo day. I'm going to use this for long runs. I feel like it is kind of a workhorse and able to kind of go through the paces. You know what? When we get to the track, I might even take this to the track a little bit and really kind of see if these little energy rods can kind of open up and give me some of that pop that I really want for, you know, ripping some 400s, you know, some like, you know, 1x1Ks, who knows? I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. Coming in at $160, so this is 160 bucks. They're not exactly just giving these shoes away, but you know, there's a lot of technology going on here, a lot of thought, a lot of development. So I would say it's a little bit on the higher side. They probably could bring that down, but again, the novelty of the shoe probably speaks volumes. Would I buy this shoe again? Yes, I would. I would buy this shoe again if given the opportunity. And especially knowing what I know now about the shoe, given how many jobs it could do, I feel that this definitely is worth your consideration. So there you go. That is it for the full review of the Adidas Boston 12. All right, guys, if you found this video helpful for you, please go ahead and like the video. Myself and YouTube, that you really appreciated this content, it can spread to others. I work super hard on these videos and I really appreciate your time. And if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and subscribing to the channel. We're gonna have a lot of running content here on the channel. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Hi there. Hi, River. We cannot be leaving our running shoes around. She is gonna make chew toys out of all these, so pick up your shoes.